Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckerling, goal strategist, book proposal specialist, author, workshop leader, and author of Books on Goals, Your Goal Guide, and 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to have a conversation. And this is one of my favorite topics that I kind of call it different things. And I end up having a conversation on passion projects probably a few times a year. But that's the thing, what is a passion project? It is something that you do independent of, in addition to everything else going on in your life, because it is something that you love. And boy, do I have a really interestingly filled out panel today, particularly excited because unless it's on purpose, my guests don't know each other. And not only do they not know each other, they all address passion projects from a different area. You might be watching this as GoalChat Live. You might be watching the replay. You might be listening to us as the GoalChat podcast on the Marketing Podcast Network. But no matter how you found us, we are so glad you're here and gifting yourself the time to geek out on passion projects, for lack of a better way to say this. So Linda, I'll go alpha. So I've known Kathy Berardi for a few years because she is a publicist, and Richard Walters her client is not only in my book. She was like, when we did our event earlier this year and I got caught in traffic, she took ringleader. So for that, I'm always grateful. And I was chatting with her the other week and I'm like, you haven't been on the show yet. So she helps promote people's passion projects, living, passion of our own. Linda Fisk, who I've known, we could probably do math, but I know we've known each other for years. And then one of our mutual friends reconnected us, and Linda is the head of LeadHERship Global, is all about encouraging the passion projects. And Lawrence Loh is a doctor in Canada, and we met because I put out a query for an article I was writing for Writer's Digest on pet peeves from publishers, and he said, I don't have an answer, and I know you're not supposed to do this, but I really want to read the article. And that is how we connected and became friends. So, and he is I'll let him tell you, but he is a medical doctor and other titles who writes fiction and nonfiction. So, to talk about two very different passions that all get to be part of his life. So, whether you are living your passion project or it's just been kind of niggling in your brain, or you just love your life, well, we don't care why you're here. We are just glad that you are. And I would love for my guests to introduce themselves a little bit better, because right now all you know is they're awesome. And I think we could do a little bit better than that. So, Kathy, let's start with you. Who are you? And why are you so passionate about passion projects?
I appreciate that question. Thank you, Debra. My name is Kathy Berardi, and I am a storyteller and PR strategist and consultant. I have a film degree from UCLA Film School. I've been MFA in screenwriting, and I also did producing. And during that time, I saw with great interest that the average age of people in this master's program was probably 36, 37. So there were some people in their late 20s, some people in their 40s and 50s, and some people in their 60s. And I discovered at that time, wow, there is no age limit on pursuing what you consider to be your passion. Throughout my professional career post-college, I've maintained an active participation and practitioner role as a publicist. In addition to that, I've also been a screenwriting and film professor for continuing education classes at various institutions. And it's during that time, once again, that I realized that some of my own students were essentially coming back to do screenwriting in addition to being, like you, Lawrence, doctors or lawyers or IT people. They were forced to go to college by their parents for something that would be profitable, while at the same time they weren't feeding what for them was, like, I would say, spiritually fulfilling or purposeful. I've also seen over the past, I would say, probably 10 to 12 years, as like access to funding has helped to get projects off the ground, from film and creative arts to people's inventions and side projects that they pursue in parallel to their, whatever their main day job might be. So I work with people who are startup founders. They have an invention, or they have a new way of doing something, or they have a film project or an arts project or a book, and work with them to say, okay, this is a passion project and I want to push it forward. So I help the stories, their stories, to kind of see, to have light, to have the spotlight shine on them. I'm passionate about helping people to pursue something that's really important to them. And I love telling stories about them and getting stories inspired by their journeys as well. Hope that answers the question. I don't want to take up too much time. I'm very passionate about passion projects, but I want to be respectful to the other guests to also introduce themselves. I'm also passionate about time management, respect, and etiquette. So I want to be a good guest. So I'll pass it back. I'll pass it on to the next person.
And I was going to say, you are clearly passionate about passion projects, and Linda, a ringleader in a very important community, has that passion as well. So Linda, your turn.
All right. So I am Linda Fisk. I currently serve as the chairwoman of a world-class confidential and supportive community that is designed to accelerate success for women in leadership all over the world, called LeadHERship Global. And LeadHERship Global integrates self-directed learning, impactful group experiences, peer advisory services, and expert-led coaching and mentoring to accelerate the success of women. And what we have learned over the past 5 years is that every single woman defines success slightly differently, based on their own definition of what they're passionate about, what their purpose is, what their mission is, what their vision is of what they're trying to impact in the world. So we help enhance that leadership blueprint of unstoppable women all around the world to help them really embrace their power to be the very best versions of themselves, both in work and in life. And our focus is helping women really clarify what they are passionate about, what their purpose is, what their vision is, what their mission is. And then we help them cultivate the roadmap to go from wherever they are to where they want to be in an accelerated time frame. So I am obviously passionate about ensuring that women have access to the resources, the tools, the connections, the funding, the media, the platforms that they need in order to accelerate their success. And we absolutely make it a mission in LeadHERship Global to help women define their passion projects, define how they really envision their life, their business, their life, their freedom, their balance between all spheres that they operate in, what that looks like over the course of 5 years. And then we help them and really help enable them to bring that to fruition.
Nice. And this is exactly why I love this topic so much. So I created the Deb method for Goal Setting Simplified, and it's all about, to get what you want, you need to know what that is, figuring out what that means, what you need to create, and then the B is brainstorming your path, so making a plan to get it. And it starts, though, with that first thing about, okay, am I living the life I want? And if I'm not, what the heck am I doing? Let me embrace, by choice or sometimes by circumstance, but let me embrace the life that I was meant to live. So love that so much.
That's exactly it, Deb. And I love that you just framed that so succinctly. But it's really about transforming women in leadership from the inside out. It's about really cultivating their definition of success and really what they're trying to impact in the world. And we are not trying to transform women with formulas, but instead with frameworks, not with hustle, but with alignment, because we really believe that the world doesn't need more busy women. It really needs more values-driven leaders that are recognized, that are remembered, that are creating impact, they're living their purpose, they're stepping boldly into what they're designed to do in life.
Exactly. Okay. Lawrence, male on the panel.
No, and thank you so much, Deborah. I'm so excited to be here, and just even hearing Kathy and Linda's introductions, I'm even more inspired to sort of pursue my own passion projects and the work that I've been doing. And Linda, I'll also add, as a proud girl dad of two girls that are 11 and 8, I'm very excited to hear how the work of LeadHERship Global seems to be shaping the world and really empowering women. Kathy, you hit the nail on the head, and I think the reason why I'm here to some degree is I'm probably the person who, by virtue of professional choices I made early on in my career, moved away from a passion that I had. So growing up, I was born in London, Ontario, which was between Toronto and Detroit, and then subsequently did high school in Malaysia, which is where my folks are from, before returning to London for college and for medical school. And between all those places, I'd always been very keen in telling stories, both through the dramatic arts as well as in written format. I was part of a group called Whose Improv Was It Anyway in undergrad. I was the features editor of the Asian Canadian newspaper on campus. And then after that, I got into medical school. And then after I got into med school, it became, going into public health as a specialist. And subsequent to that, for probably about 12 years of my early career, all of my creativity manifested mostly as med school talent shows and writing in peer-reviewed publications. So I got very good at publishing academic papers. I've got a whole bunch of stuff in PubMed to my name. But it wasn't until 2019 where I sort of got to this point where, my daughters are finally, one of them was in kindergarten, the other was in full day preschool. I was in a role that I'd been in for 6 years. And I said to myself at the beginning of 2019, I'm pretty good. I'm in a great health department that I like. I'm doing some good work here, and I could probably see myself doing this for the long run. And subsequent to that, we had announcements around restructuring. And then, of course, everyone knows what happened in the spring of 2020, where in a very strange narrative arc, I became the health officer for the hardest hit region in Canada on March 13th, 2020, which was a really great time to become a health officer. And subsequent to that, it was 2 years of being, me and my team being the folks that canceled all the things and dealt with all the various threats that we got through the media and all that other stuff. And then in a perfect end to the narrative arc, on the very last day that we lifted all the measures in our jurisdiction in 2022, I actually tested positive for COVID the first time. So my personal and professional battles all ended on the exact same day after starting 3 days just before the beginning. And so after that, I said, there's something here. I really need to explore this a little further. And so I left. I stayed on in medical leadership for about another year beyond into the recovery, but took 2024 off to actually pursue my passion. I took a creative writing certificate, which included a screenwriting component, actually. And since then, I drafted a memoir, which I'm probably going to shelve for the time being because I've been told by various agents and publishers that there really isn't a market for pandemic reads right now. That makes sense to me. But I've also published a lot of, or I'm keen to publish various novel length as well as feature-length screenplays that feature strong Asian Canadian women as protagonists, mostly because I'm trying to write case studies for my daughters. I'm working with lots of different friends to make sure I'm sensitive about it, of course, but really trying to create complex, imperfect characters that bounce back from bad decisions. So now I'm here basically practicing as a public health physician, but wherever I've got a single iota of time, I'm also in between raising the family and the public health stuff. I'm trying to figure out how I bring these stories to life.
Which is now, audience, why I said it appears that he has the most divergent types of careers. I didn't know that medical school talent shows were a thing. I think of like Elle Woods in Legally Blonde trying to do mixers in law school. That I put in that category, right?
I know that we're all words people here, so I'll just share the med school talent. And for my med school, the talent show was called tachycardia, which means like an elevated heart rate. So it was a bit of a play on words that it would, raise your heart rate. Drama, tension, what's not to like?
What's not to like? Well, you mentioned, the pandemic times, like it actually needs a mention, like we could forget. But your goal guide came out in January 2020. And the purpose of that book was to help people embrace change by choice or by circumstance. And then 6 weeks later, we got a heck of a lot of circumstance. But from that conversation, but even before then and since, it's like, it's your life, it's your choice. And maybe you can't bring your professional life to a screeching halt while you pursue a passion project, but that's what they're for. So can we start with the most basic of questions? And I would love what you each define as a passion project. So Linda, how do you define a passion project?
Yeah, I think a passion project is something you would do whether or not there is monetary incentive, right? So whether or not you're paid for it, it's something that you feel called to do. It's something that you feel passionate about, but it's also something that you feel led or called to enact in the world, to impact in the world. In my mind, it's not a choice, it's an imperative. This is something that you feel absolutely designed to create. You feel led to impact. You feel as though it is literally part of your life's purpose. And in doing so, you feel a sense of freedom, a sense of flow, a sense of incredible reward, whether or not there's money attached to it. You feel fulfilled and rewarded simply in the act of doing and creating within that area of passion. And so, if you are lucky enough to be well paid for that, in fact, that is sort of a additional bonus gift beyond the sort of the feeling of incredible joy and happiness and reward and fulfillment from simply the act of doing. And so in my mind, the inherent payment of pursuing your passion is simply the incredible impact that you're able to have, the reward and fulfillment you feel, the joy and happiness, and really this level of flow where time dissipates, where you lose yourself in the moment, you lose yourself in the act of creation, because this is what you were designed to do.
We have a comment on LinkedIn, and it says LinkedIn user, but I peeked and see that it's my friend Anne. So Anne, thank you for tuning in live. And she says, in filmmaking, describing the work of another as a passion project is often a pejorative reference. Reclaim the descriptive. Say I, for we should all feel passionate about our work. To create without passion, inconceivable. Agree. Because it goes back to what you were saying, Linda. You're called to do it. It's always nice when you can take your passion project and turn it into money thing. But the start of it, the seed of any passion project is the P word, passion.
Yeah.
Kathy, do you want to add to, or yes, and because we've got some theatrical people here, the definition of, your definition of a passion project?
Sure. I would like to start by rebranding it as a passion pursuit, because for me, the word project is like start and finish, put it away, move forward on to the next thing. So I think for me, what I've seen within myself, in addition to people who I consult with, is that passion pursuits could be inventing something, building a solution, writing a screenplay, spending more time with someone in your life you're passionate about, forming that connection. It can be in service of something that matters to you spiritually, issue, etc. A passion pursuit could be simply doing more yoga, creating more balance for yourself. It doesn't always have to be like creating something in the world and, being performance-based. So for me, I see that a passion pursuit is where you it doesn't have to be all-encompassing, and it's probably even better if it isn't all-encompassing, but rather it's something where you speak about it and you feel it here, or like wherever you feel your emotions. Maybe it's like your solar plexus, maybe it's like your heart area. And when people speak to you, your eyes light up and you have this electric energy and people can literally feel it. Like, for example, I've spoken with people who are like well, I have this great, 20-year career at XYZ company, and I just got promoted, and I can now buy a second house in a second city, and I'm able to retire comfortably. But then they're like, and I have this book. And it's just like this huge shift of energy. And you can see, like, not that they'll, they don't want to like not feed their family of 5 with their current, 6-figure career, six-figure salary. But at the same time, it's just important over the course of one's life, starting from when you're young, to make time for the passion in your life that you determine. And like for me, there's various loops that I've gone through where it's kind of like, I was passionate about that, but now that I pursued it to such a level where it's all encompassing, I'm not so passionate about it anymore. So I think as our lives and needs and perspectives change, what was a passion can just make room for other passion. Like I always had a passion to be in California. And so I went to film school. I was doing things independently. It was like my time to break through. And then 08 happened, the economic crash happened, my student loans became due. I was having a baby, like everything was kind of hitting like all together, 2008, 2009. And I just shifted, and then I just came back to it when it like made the most sense. And now I've like evolved into, okay, motion picture is wonderful, but I really want to study arts history. Like I'm like a late bloomer on art history. So now I do lots of art history, lifelong learning. So that's just my own examples. I'll hand it over to you, Lawrence.
I love the enthusiasm. So if you are listening and not watching, Lawrence is smiling and nodding at like everything.
Okay, wonderful.
I mean, so is Linda as well, but it's basically leaking over from Canada. Definitely someone who knows the value of pursuing the things other than the day job.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in with my definition, which really actually is intertwined with what both Linda and Kathy have shared. The idea that it is something that you're called to do regardless of remuneration, regardless of what's involved, but it is also something that can change over time.
Yes.
I really basically see passion projects or pursuits, as you've very greatly rebranded them, Kathy. I actually see them as ultimately being the idea of digging deeper, right? Digging deeper beyond the surface. So for the longest time, especially after I got into med school, and actually it's funny, one of my characters has this whole, it's a story about a coming of age. She's a successful foreign diplomat, gets caught up in a scandal, gets fired, and then when success no longer defines her, she's trying to figure out what does, right? And so it then becomes this, goes back to the small town, finds the quarterback, that kind of stuff. Anyway, long story short, though, not that it's hallmark or cliche, but the bigger point is that for myself as well, I've also gone on these journeys where it's like, for a long time, I was very passionate about public health, about medicine. And then, of course, there have been challenges and difficulties in the field over the last few years. I don't think there's any other way to say that. But I think the bigger thing is it's really forced me and a lot of other folks in the field to really think about, well, what are our core values? What drives us? What are the things that actually matter to us, right? And then the realization for me was that the things that I care about, oh dear, I think we may have lost, oh no, she's back. But I think it's the idea that the things that we care about, they can manifest in different ways. So I've always been very passionate about public health, the idea of really trying to keep communities healthy, to keep people out of the ERs and to keep people out of the doctor's offices by adding life to years and by adding years to life. But the ability to do that involves engaging with communities, speaking with people, connecting with people. And I realized that it's not just that I'm passionate about that work specifically, but that internally I'm an extrovert, an absolutely incorrigible extrovert. I'm someone who's keen on meeting people, learning their stories, and bringing people together to share stories and then express those stories in some form or another. And that can take place whether it is about creating healthy public policy or in trying to create, various cultural touchstones. Hopefully, I don't know, in the form of various other, prose or otherwise.
Okay, and these are all, well, they're all, I'm not going to say they're not great definitions. They're all very personal. I mean, they are great definitions, but each of them is very personal to each of you, which I think is part of the beauty of the Passion Project, is that it needs to mean something in order for you to, whether it is something professional or something for fun, like yoga or whatever. Yoga. I like dancing for exercise. Yoga is a little too quiet for me. Big shock, even though I have had my stint. But no matter what the thing is, it's got to be meaningful. And that's why, and it can change, which is why I start the DEB method with the D, determine your mission, because the projects can change, but who you are and what you want to get out in the world is not going to. Linda, do you have a passion project? Because I feel like Kathy and Lawrence have like leaked out things that they're working on in addition to the regular life stuff. Is there something that you've got that drives you beyond, or have you just made your passion project your life?
Well, I will say that I really appreciated what Kathy added around this doesn't have to be a forever passion. It can evolve and change over time. It can ebb and flow over time too. I think those were important comments. And for me, my passions beyond what I do in my vocation have remained fairly consistent, but there has certainly been an ebb and flow with that. And some of it is circumstance, and some of it is time, and some of it is priority that shifts over time. So, I love painting. I love writing. I love riding bikes. I was a triathlete. I was a marathon runner. I mean, I have had a whole plethora of things that I absolutely love doing. Is it a passion that I could say, yes, that is what I was designed to do? No, it's more of something I just really enjoy. But I will tell you, we talked a little bit about how a passion, and maybe it's not project, what Kathy indicated
Pursuit,
was,
right?
yeah, maybe it's a pursuit, which I love. So in that passion pursuit, I noted that the real benefit there, the real remuneration, if you will, is the joy, is the incredible reward and the feeling of fulfillment by just simply enacting that. And I will tell you that for me, the seeds, I think, of your own prosperity are tucked away in really surprising places. Your greatest interests, your greatest passions. And of course, simply following your passions isn't enough to build a vocation around. You have to find a way of making your passion pursuit actually profitable. And that means finding a way to use your interests and talents to contribute to value in the world. And this can be done in a number of ways, but I think one of the most important is finding what you love. In order to have a really abundant life, you need to figure out what it is that you love doing. And many times I feel like we try to do something that maybe other people we admire do, or someone that we hold in very high regard, some pursuit that they may have, and we try to emulate that. And it could be because they're successful. It could be because they are doing something we've always sort of felt was the definition of success. But the more that you align with what you love doing, I feel like the more abundance you'll attract in your life. And for me, I have a number of things I love doing, right? I love gardening. I love running. I love biking. I love swimming. I love painting more than anything. If I could just spend all day painting, I probably would. But I also love what I have built my vocation around, which is lifting women up and connecting them to the resources and the tools and the funding and the media opportunities that they need in order to accelerate their success. And I've been able, I think, to build an incredibly lucrative career around that because I am passionate about it, because I absolutely love it. And so I think it's important to identify what you want, but it's also important to feel what you want as you move through the ebbs and flows and changes of your life. And if you're always feeling fulfilled and rewarded and challenged, that in of itself is payment, I feel.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And I always say, give yourself treats along the way in your goal pursuits. Obviously, the biggest treat is pursuing. But beyond that, it's, you whatever encouragement you need to put into your life to keep you motivated and moving forward. And what Linda was saying about having the fulfillment, knowing the things that you love, that's like the reward of the life well lived. And I think Linda's having a little camera issue, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna.
I can hear you and I can see you and I can participate in the conversation, but for some reason my camera just stopped working, which is no big deal. I'll see if I can log off, log back on. But honestly, I would just say a lot of the conversation that, Lawrence and Kathy have offered have been so instrumental in really helping to shape and guide everybody's individual perspective around that passion pursuit. And I think it is incredible to have multiple things that bring you joy in your life and multiple pursuits that bring you a sense of fulfillment.
Absolutely. I mean, it's part of the whole balance thing, which is going to be my next question, but you brought up a good one, so I'm going to throw that in here. What recommendation do you have for people to better identify what they love? Because I think for busy professionals, it's like very tunnel vision. Oh, there you are. There you're back. It's very tunnel vision. I need to do the things. So let's say someone who's tuning in, they like their life, they might even love their life, but they're not inspired by their life. So what recommendations do you have to help people identify what they love? Kathy, you want to start?
I would love to start. I would say if you take a look at the people around you and or the people who you may engage with through online communities, or if there's someone from your childhood or just someone when you were growing up. And growing up can be like through your 20s, 30s, and 40s. Like I'm still growing up. And just think about like who inspired you, or someone who you thought, wow, like I want to be like them, or like you just could tell that they were ignited, they were kind of energetic to be around. And maybe think about some things that you saw them doing, or what, perhaps like it's someone who went sailing at the lake on the weekends, or someone who you noticed made time to write a book, or at least journaled and worked on things in addition to whatever their core caregiving or professional work responsibilities might have been. When I was teaching Short Film 101 for the Atlanta Film Society, one thing that I taught in my class before going out and making a short film where you're going to invest your reputation and your money and your time, just work on other people's short films. Like you're working towards the project goal or the pursuit, what the potential outcome could be. But just spend time in the environment. Like at this point in time, I'm not able to permanently move to a different country. Like I'm looking to maybe spend some of my retirement years in Europe, but I'm starting to like read about it. I'm starting to like every Saturday I look at like local listings in different zip codes in Italy where I might settle for a bit. Like I have like a vision board. And so I'm pursuing it at a pace that makes sense. And it's like in balance with the rest of my life. But in terms of like identifying what you love, I think that there's like categories where you could just kind of like read books to kind of like maybe go down a path of self-discovery. So if you just go to a bookstore, walk through the Barnes and Noble different sections and be in that physical environment where it's kind of like, what magazines interest me? What hobbies might interest me? Like, I think just starting by reading about it is a really great first step to kind of see like, oh, I'm suddenly drawn to this. This is interesting. And then once you identify what you might have an interest in, you don't have to like go full throttle and make a big investment in like, signing up for like a year-long course that's $10,000. You could just start by like watching some YouTube videos about quilt making, or about pursuing a film career, or about next steps to try to learn how to paint or do something that is of interest, or sailboating lessons or dance classes. It can be really simple stuff to see what you love. For a while I was involved in a sports program And I really loved it when I loved it, but just due to time and stress and lack of energy, I just couldn't make it work recently. And I thought I used to be really passionate about that, but I'm kind of like letting it go as kind of like, okay, that's like a passion pursuit that ran its course. And now I'll move on to something else. It's kind of like freed up time and space and energy. So I think also like adjusting when you need to based on what's possible, so hope that's helpful.
Yeah. And when you let go of the things that are not fulfilling you, you do make space to bring more of the good in. And Jay commented is watching live on LinkedIn, share your story with your network and inspire your network. So for those of you who are doing what you love, you don't know. And that's why I love working with experts on book proposals. You don't know how many people need to hear your story until you get your story out there. So, and then Ileana said, love this conversation. Well, thank you both for watching live. And if you're watching the replay, we adore you just as much. So Lawrence, what advice do you have for people who need help identifying what they love?
I've had a few sort of thoughts around this over the course of my own, professional career in medicine as well as in writing. I give the same advice to folks. The first thing is to start with yes, right? So the idea is, if you know yourself best, there's stuff you're definitely interested in. There's stuff that you're wondering. It's like, yeah, well, if I only just gave myself the chance or had the time or whatever, you know what? Just say yes to it. Carve out the time, call up the friend, ask them how and where, give it a try. Maybe you're going to stink at it when you begin, but you never know where it's going to go. You start with yes, and you basically keep trying, reaching out to folks that have gone before you. The second thing that I often really encourage is doing basically doing what you're good at as well in addition. So saying yes to the new things, but doing what you're good at to support where you've gone. So where I've really felt, and I've been so grateful for a community, including yourself, Deb, just like me having reached out to you, is the idea that as I've mentioned, I'm an extrovert. I love meeting with people. So I've reached out to people. I'm just like, hey, you seem like you're doing some interesting writing stuff. Why don't you tell me about XYZ when it comes to writing or all these other things? So, I'm someone who likes to connect with people. So I've said yes to trying some of the stuff and working at it, but I'm still sticking with the meet people, have coffee, break bread, try to understand where things go. And then the last thing I often tell folks is once you've done that, so you're trying out the new thing, you're starting from scratch, and then you keep doing what you're good at in terms of trying to either make connections, or if you're a more reflective person, journaling or whatever the case is, do the opposite of that to actually consolidate your thoughts. So I've been grateful, for example, I know we all probably know the artist's way around here. I was grateful for actually reading through that book and getting into the idea of morning pages because for someone as myself who's very externally driven in chatting with people, forcing myself to write pages in the morning. Now I don't do it every morning anymore, but I do it from often. Actually helps me get back into my head to reflect on, okay, so what are the linkages between the conversations I've had and the efforts that I'm trying to do? So if you're externally focused, try to get some time to do that internal reflection. If you're internally focused, try to test your ideas by actually chatting with someone, trying to actually be out there and say, hey, I've been working on this kind of thing. What do you think? And in general, most people do want you to succeed. They're willing to root for you and actually have a good conversation and support you.
Well, that is such a really good point. And I was talking with my publisher earlier today, and I had this exact conversation. People want you to succeed. Agents and publishers, they want to buy your book, so you need to give them a book that they can buy and then sell to their team so they can get out in the world. The people around you want to support you, and by giving them an opportunity, it's a gift for them, but it is also a gift for you, sharing what you love. The other point, and then I want Linda's answer on this, is as an extrovert, the thing I do is if I'm in a room, I try not to be the person who goes over and talks to people because that is against my nature. So, or if I'm in a Zoom room even and I let other people go first because I always want to go first. So it's a good brain thing too.
100%.
Linda, what did you want to add about identifying the things you love?
Well, I have to tell you first and foremost, Deb, that as evidently the only introvert here, I appreciate people like you who go over first. Please do that. Don't do that. Holy cow. I mean, that's always a struggle for me, believe it or not, is creating that that
You're
first
an
step.
introvert?
So I love people like you that want to fill up the room and want to go over and start the conversation. It's such a relief. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I would say that for me, a simple step to identifying your own personal passion pursuit, I'm adopting that nomenclature from Kathy, that passion pursuit is, I think, to start recognizing what you love in your life right now. What is it that brings you joy and happiness and peace? Take the time to appreciate what you have in your life. And maybe it's an extension of that. Maybe it's just a simple next step. Maybe it's the manifestation of, I love blogging and I've written 800 blogs because I love it. Maybe I could take those blogs and create a book. Maybe that's the next step. Maybe that's the extension of what you love in your life right now. Maybe it's health. You love health pursuits. Maybe it's particular people. Maybe it's particular skills. Maybe it's the simple beauty of nature that surrounds you every day. But there are things in your life that bring you abundance and a sense of joy. And you'll find yourself realizing how abundant your life is. And what you really need may be right there in front of you. It's just simply the next logical step. It's the next easy thing that you can say yes to, as Lawrence said. It's the easy yes that's right in front of you. And I just really believe that we all have breadcrumbs in our life, especially once we've hit, middle age, 40, 50. We know what brings us joy inherently. We know what we're good at. We know what comes easy. We know what gives us incredible sense of fulfillment. And so sometimes I feel like that passion pursuit is simply the next logical step of evolution around that idea. For me, I love the women in my life that have served as mentors, as coaches, as inspiration, women that have, honestly, they've beaten the odds. They've defied common understanding of what women are allowed to do. They have really been the trailblazers, the pioneers, the people that challenge convention. Those are the women that bring me incredible joy. So I spent my life trying to serve them, right? And I believe that sometimes it's just simply an act of looking around at your relationships, looking around at what brings you joy. And let me just say that much like what Kathy said earlier, it doesn't have to happen overnight. Most people that live out their passion pursuits will tell you that they work at it every day. On a daily basis, they're accomplishing small actions that align them with what they really want in life. They are able to create more love, more fulfillment, more joy, more happiness. The one thing you love about yourself and about your life.
Awesome. I love all of the things. And I also want I have like 5 different things. Fellow introvert Christy is watching live in Florida and identified herself. So good on you, introvert, for saying a hey. And Jay popped in again. If you love something, go after it. And I wanted to, yes, and one of the things that you just said, Linda, is I call it a giggle project. If there's something that you love that makes you smile, that's going to give joy into the other parts of your life. And it's great if you can work on it every day, but maybe you can't. But think about it every day and work on it maybe once a week. That way you strike a little bit of balance. And the other thing I'm going to mention is I am going to, when I do the replay of it, I am retitling it Passion Pursuits, because I think that, so thank you, Kathy, PR person. Who knew, right? Better name for something. But because it really does embody what it is you love. If you've got something that you're passionate about, if it's your day job, great. If it's something that you're doing to bring you joy, to keep yourself moving forward, it can be monetary, doesn't have to be. It might just be something that you love so much It needs to be part of your life. So I've got a quick speed round question, and then we're going to start gifting goals. So what is one thing people can do to find the balance, to find the time for that passion project? Linda, go.
I think the greatest power you can ever develop is the ability to focus on the good in your life right now so that you can be happy right now and create the space and time to imagine, to just simply imagine and visually create the life that you're looking for. And it could be a month from now, could be a year from now, could be 5 years from now. So no matter what else is happening around you, you can at least visualize what it is that you want to manifest and create in your life. So I think the greatest power you can develop is the ability to focus on the good right here, right now, so you can be happy and feel fulfilled and give yourself permission to imagine the next step of taking that further.
And that's going to give you more energy that you can use to make time, prioritize whatever this passion pursuit is.
Love that.
That's good. Okay, Lawrence, what is your quick tip?
My quick tip, actually, and Linda, you have touched on this, and I feel like this is low-hanging fruit. It's a yes and from what I've said. Your passion pursuits don't exist in a vacuum. You know, there are so many things that we do love and that we're already engaged in our lives. And, you know, in addition to the practice of gratitude, it's about seeing the interconnections between them. You know, I'm also someone who enjoys distance running. Not surprising that many of my characters in my fiction books go for runs. And when they're out for runs, they see certain things and certain plot twists happen, right? No, don't worry, it's not bodies in the wood. I'm not started, but it's the broader idea that, you know, one thing I'm very passionate about are my daughters, right? They're 11 and 8. They're the lights of my life. I absolutely adore them. And so when I decided to write, you know, my reflections on what happened in pandemic leadership, I framed it as life lessons in resilience and leadership, but each chapter was written as letters to my daughters, right? So it's something along those lines where, you know, you already know what you're passionate about. You practice gratitude around it. You pursue and say yes to it, and then you see the interconnections between, you know, love for family and friends, karaoke, if that's your thing, that's also my thing. Running, whatever the case is, you put it all together and you see what comes out, really.
Great. Not a quick answer, but I like it. Happy, quick answer so we can get to gifting some goals.
What's the question again?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you. Noah, how do you find the time for your passion pursuits in your already busy life?
I love the question. I think it starts with finding 5 minutes to think about it. And in that 5 minutes, plan the next time in the week or the month ahead that you'll be able to spend at least 1 hour on it. And from there, put it as like a regular cadence on your Google Calendar or as a reminder on your phone of spend time doing this or spend time planning this. And it's just a matter of like putting it as a sticky note on the bathroom mirror or create it. Like I'm a big phone person. I don't like to use a lot of paper. Just literally putting it on like put in emojis as part of the scheduling like appointment to yourself. I think it's literally scheduling it, like make time for yoga, schedule yoga, research paint, research like online paint programs, just anything that you're passionate about. Attend one entrepreneurial meeting a month if you have an interest in trying to be a founder of a company or a solution. Test out Facebook ads to see if this marketing program for your solution will be effective. Literally just small steps working towards it, continuing the pursuit. That way it's not like you're happy at the outcome, you're just happy pursuing it. Like that's where like the real passion is, you know, coming from during the practice of like pursuing it.
So I feel like this could also be the goal that you're gifting, right? So
Sure.
What is something someone can do right now immediately to become at one with their passion pursuit?
I think, oh, sorry. Is it okay if I go first?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I think consider what it is that you wish to pursue that feels like it could be passionate. Spend some time, a few days, a few weeks, reading about it, reading what other people are doing, see if there's a way to pursue that activity or that line of thought or practicing that, developing that craft, see if there's a way to do it in a community online or in person. Because if you do it in community with other people, even if it's just one other person, you're like each other's either accountability or sharing experiences person. Find a way to connect with the community and ride that, tap into that, practice that with the community. If you're not able to, then at least following maybe like a guidebook or like a how-to type book. And there's that for everything in the world, whether it's like a YouTube channel that is a how-to for that, like kayaking or screenwriting or learning how to paint or how to become an entrepreneur. Definitely study up. And the studying, the reflection, the learning, that's part of the pursuit at the earliest stages.
Okay, and then the other thing I will add, so my Write On community my Write On online community on Facebook, facebook.com/group/Write On online. Every day is a different prompt. So it's, what are your networking goals for the week? What are your goals for the week? Okay, almost every day. Thursdays, Toot Your Horn. Friday is Photo Friday, and Saturday's Weekend Plan. So 5 days a week, there is a way to share what you are doing or what you have accomplished in community. Linda, goal?
I would just say that I find that oftentimes people feel the burden of goals very intensely. They feel overwhelmed by having a set of goals. You see this with New Year's resolutions all the time. And my feeling is, if you can be light about it, if you can be playful about it, if you can see it as just simply, you're experimenting, you're discovering, you're just sort of learning, and it kind of takes that sense of overwhelm out of the pursuit.
That's awesome. Be playful about your goals. Yeah, no, I think that's great, because another thing I say frequently is, when you love what you do, it shows. This is a passion pursuit. If you're not loving it, do something else. So find the joy in it.
Absolutely.
Okay,
another thing I would just say really quickly is, very much like what Kathy just said, stop navigating alone. Get matched with a circle or a coach or a roadmap that can support you every single step of the way. So be playful, be light, simply use this as an opportunity to discover and play, but also don't feel obligated to make all the decisions and pursue this alone. Stop navigating alone and really look for a circle, a coach, a roadmap, something that can support this along the way.
Yes, and yes. Lawrence, goal. Go.
I feel like I'm on the exact same wavelength as Kathy and Linda here to a large degree. But I think the goal I would have is, the reality is that a lot of folks know what their passion pursuits are. They know what they're interested in. I would say, take something that you've been stuck at for a while, and there's 3 things I would recommend. First of all, reframe your perspective. I think one of the challenges that we have with passion pursuits is that we expect it to be the big end goal at the very end. It's like, yes, I've got the book, I've got the feature film, and then there's all these little steps along the way that we kind of forget. So remember where you're starting from. You're starting from the beginning, and it's going to be messy, it's going to be difficult, but you can chunk it out, right? You can chunk it out. But to Linda and Kathy's point, it's a lot easier if you do that with other people. It's a lot easier if you help, try to rely on other folks who've, shown the roadmap before. And it's also a lot simpler if you're, whether you say playful, Linda, but I often just say, just do something, right? So you want to play guitar, go ahead and, learn how to play Wonderwall, just the same 4 chords, which you can play like 100 different pop songs with, just a different way of strumming it. Pick something easy to do. Get to that first step, right? Write a paragraph. If you can't write the whole book, just write a paragraph. Just put your thoughts down on paper. And of course, do it with other people. Share it, have people read it, just say, and then that way you get that encouragement, because like I said, most people out there rooting for you. They actually want you to succeed, and they'll support you in the way that you've been supporting them.
Amazing. Love this conversation. Where can people learn more about each of you? Kathy?
Sure. LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Kathy Berardi. And on Instagram, it's Kathy Berardi LA. I created my Instagram profile when I came to LA. So I put LA at the end. Now it just looks like I have an extra long name.
If it works, it works. What
Yes.
about you, Linda? Where's the best place for people to learn about
Probably
you?
the best place. I'm active on all social media platforms, LinkedIn especially. So very open to, direct messages on LinkedIn. But the best way to find out about LeadHERship Global and me is our website, which is leadhershipglobal.com. So leadhershipglobal.com.
Wonderful. And Lawrence?
So yeah, I have a website, which is lawrencelohmd.com, which you can certainly check out if you want to learn about my pandemic story. But I am also fairly active on LinkedIn. And in fact, right now I'm in the middle of the Gratitude Project, which is between Canadian Thanksgiving, which is the second Monday in October, and your folks' Thanksgiving in the US. I'm practicing digging deep into gratitude, trying to post one thing that I'm grateful for each day.
Wonderful. And if you go to the debmethod.com/blog, you can watch the replay, get the recaps, get the goals. I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you can also follow me at the Deb Method everywhere on social media. And if you need a little help with your goals, you can grab a copy of your goal guide and or 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting to help keep you motivated for your passion pursuits, but all the other pursuits as well. So, friends, what final thought would you like to leave people with today? Lawrence, final thought?
Like I said, pick something that you've been waiting to do, chunk it out, talk to other folks, and get started.
Okay, get started. I'm making that your final thought because you made it too long. Kathy, what final thought are you leaving people with today?
I would say something to the effect of a life worth living is a passion worth pursuing. And there's no time like the present. And to have more joy or to maybe move forward from a place you might be in where you don't have joy, I think it starts with investing in purpose, passion, and literally just what feels like it lights you up, which also then creates more light in the world. So together, supporting each other and pursuing what's passionate in all of our lives, it really does build, a global community to just move forward in a more positive way together.
Awesome. Okay, Linda, final thought to you.
The holidays provide a beautiful time to slow down, pause, and reflect. And what I would wish for everyone that's listening to this is that you take the time to pause and reflect on what brings you joy, what brings you a sense of fulfillment, a sense of reward, and that you give yourself permission to deeply invest in those pursuits.
Amazing. And yes, it is a holiday time, so it's an especially good reminder. But, I do goals year round. Every day, every week, every month is an opportunity to pause, reflect, invest in yourself, and also in the time to decide what brings you joy. Little bits at a time definitely add up, especially when you're pursuing your passion. And if your life is all passion, good on you. If you need a little bit more, find that joy project and just incorporate it into your life. It will make a huge difference in all aspects and elements of your life. Thank you again, Kathy Berardi, Linda Fisk, Lawrence Loh, for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm Debra Eckerling. We are live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific, or you can subscribe to the GoalChat podcast, which is on the Marketing Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. And if you want to listen to more of me, you can also subscribe to Taste Buds What's Up and the Book Proposal Podcast. Until next time, you got your passion. You've got all the time in the world. Today is the day you start investing in yourself and your passion and move forward. We know you can do it.